The Spanish period. It is an accepted belief that Spanish colonization of the Philippines started in 1565 during the time of Miguel López de Legazpi, the first Spanish governor-general in the Philippines. Literature started to flourish during this time. The spirit continued unabated until the Cavite Revolt in 1872. The Spaniards colonized the Philippines for more than 3 centuries. During these times, many changes occurred in the lives of Filipinos. They embraced the Catholic religion, changed their names, and were baptized. Their lifestyles changed too. They built houses made of stones and bricks, and they also used beautiful furniture and utensils. Carriages, trains, and boats were used as means of travel, and also they held fiestas to honor the saints, the Pope, and the governor. And last but not the least, people had cockfights, horse races, and a theater as means of recreation. This gave rise to the formation of the different classes of society, like the rich and the landlords. Some Filipinos finished courses like medicine, law, agriculture, and teaching. Many Filipinos finished their schooling in the Philippines because many schools already had been established. And due to the long period of colonization of the Philippines by the Spaniards, they have exerted a strong influence on our literature. First is the Filipino alphabet called Alibata was replaced by the Roman alphabet. Second, the teaching of the Christian doctrine became the basis of religious practices. Third, the Spanish language, which became the literary language during this time, lent many of its words to our language. Fourth, European legends and traditions brought here became assimilated in our songs, corridos, moromoros, and etc. Fifth, ancient literature was collected and translated to Tagalog and other dialects. Sixth, many grammar books were printed in Filipino like Tagalog, Ilocano, and Visayan. And seventh, our periodicals during these times gained a religious tone. Alright, so we have here ang Doctrina Christiana or the Christian Doctrine, which is the first book printed in the Philippines in 1593 in xylography. It was written by Father Juan de Plasencia and Father Domingo Nieva in Tagalog and Spanish. It contained the Pater Noster or Our Father, Ave Maria or Hail Mary, Regina Coeli or Hail Holy Queen, and 10 Commandments of God, the commandments of the Catholic Church, the 7 mortal sins, how to confess, and the Catechism. 3 old original copies of this book can still be found at the Vatican, at the Madrid Museum, and at the U.S. Congress. It contains only 87 pages but costs $5,000. Next, we have the recreational plays during the Spanish period. There were many recreational plays performed by Filipinos during the Spanish times. Almost all of them were in poetic form. Here are the examples. So first, we have the tibag. The word tibag means to excavate. This ritual was brought here by the Spaniards to remind the people about the search of Saint Helena for the cross on which Jesus died. This is a dramatic performance usually done even without a raised stage and held during Maytime festivals. A cross is buried in a clearing or mound in a yard near a church. Before the town fiesta, Saint Helena, with King Constantine and some soldiers, start to look for the cross. She digs on the mounds while a dialogue ensues as the search continues. Upon reaching the third mound, where the cross is found, there is a great jubilation around, and then the cross is borne in a procession to the church where a priest performs the religious rites. Next, we have the lagaylay. This is a special occasion for the Pilareños of Sorsogon during May time to get together. As early as April, the participating ladies are chosen and sometimes mothers volunteer their girls in order to fulfill a vow made during an illness or for a favor received. In some parts of Bicol, a different presentation is made, but the objective is the same: praise, respect, and offering of love to the Blessed Cross by Saint Helena on the mount she had dug in. Next, we have Sinaculo. This is a dramatic performance to commemorate the passion and death of Jesus Christ. There are two kinds, the cantada and the hablada. In the hablada, the lines are spoken in a more deliberate manner, showing the rhythmic measure of each verse and the rhyming in each stanza, and is more dignified in theme. The cantada is chanted like the Passion. Next, we have the panunuluyan. This is presented before 12 on Christmas Eve. This is a presentation of the search of Virgin Mary and Saint Joseph for an inn wherein to deliver the baby Jesus. Next, we have the Salubong. It is an Easter play that dramatizes the meeting of the risen Christ and his mother. It is still presented in many Philippine towns. Two processions are held by the church at early dawn. One is made up of men bearing on their shoulders the image of the risen Christ. The other women carrying the heavily veiled image of the Blessed Virgin. The procession converge at an appointed place, usually under a flower-like canopy, constructed at the church patio or town plaza. At a signal, the petals of the flower open and a little girl dressed like an angel is slowly lowered by a pulley. Singing Regina Caeli Laetare, she removes the Virgin's mourning veil and showers her with fresh flowers. The church bells ring at this point. Then together, the two images are carried back in procession to the church. Next, we have Carillo, or shadow play. This is a form of dramatic entertainment performed on a moonless night during a town fiesta or on dark nights after a harvest. This shadow play is made by projecting cardboard figures before a lamp against a white sheet. The figures are moved like marionettes whose dialogues are produced by some experts. The dialogues are drawn from a corrido or awit or some religious play interspersed with songs. These are called by various names in different places: Carillo in Manila, Rizal in Batangas and Laguna, Titres in Ilocos Norte, Pangasinan, Bataan, Capiz in Negros, Titiri in Zambales, Gagalo or Kikimot in Pampanga and Tarlac, and Aliala in La Union. Next, we have the Zarzuela. It is considered the father of the drama. It is a musical comedy or melodrama in 3 acts, which dealt with man's passions and emotions like love, hate, revenge, cruelty, avarice, or some social or political problem. These were originally performed by traveling dramatic troupes organized by a royal mandate of Governor Narciso Claveria to stimulate dramatic performances. And last, we have the sainete. This was a short musical comedy popular during the 18th century. They were exaggerated comedies shown between acts of long plays and were mostly performed by characters from the lower classes. Themes were taken from everyday life scenarios. The period of Enlightenment. After 300 years of passivity under Spanish rule, the Filipino spirit reawakened when the 3 priests, Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora, were guillotined without sufficient evidence of guilt. This occurred on the 17th of February. This was buttressed with a spirit of liberalism when the Philippines opened its doors to world trade, and with the coming of a liberal leader in the person of Governor Carlos Maria de la Torre. The Spaniards were unable to suppress the tide of rebellion among the Filipinos. The once religious spirit transformed itself into one of nationalism, and the Filipinos demanded changes in the government and in church. So this movement was spearheaded mostly by the intellectual middle class like Jose Rizal, right? So you recognize Jose Rizal and Marcelo H. Del Pilar, this one, and followed by Graciano Lopez Jaina, all right? And then followed by Antonio Luna, Mariano Ponce, Jose Maria Panganiban, and Pedro Paterno. The objectives of this movement were to seek reforms and changes like the following: to get equal treatment for Filipinos and Spaniards under the law, to make the Philippines a colony of Spain, to restore Filipino representation in the Spanish Cortes, to Philippinize the parishes, and to give the Filipinos freedom of speech, of the press, assembly, and for redress of grievances. Alright, so there were actually three principal leaders of the propaganda movement. They were Jose Rizal, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, and Graciano Lopez Jaina. So we have here some of the highlights about Jose Rizal and what he had done for our country. I think everybody is familiar with his famous novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, right? His full name is Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado Alonso y Realonda and was born on June 19, 1861 at Calamba, Laguna. His first teacher was his mother, Teodora Alonso. He studied at Ateneo de Manila, started medicine at UST, and finished at the Universidad Central of Madrid. He also studied at the University of Berlin, Leipzig, and Heidelberg. He died by musketry in the hands of the Spaniards on December 30, 1896, on charges of sedition and rebellion against the Spaniards. His pen name was Laong Laan and Dimasalang. In addition to his famous novels, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, he wrote a lot of literary works during the Spanish rule. We have the Mi Ultimo Adios, this one here, which means My Last Farewell in English. This was a poem by Rizal while he was incarcerated at Fort Santiago and is the one that compare favorably with the best in the world. It was only after his death when his name was affixed to the poem. And on the upper right, you can see the title The Indolence of the Filipino, or also called Sobre la Indolencia de los Filipinos. This is an essay on the so-called Filipino indolence and an evaluation of the reasons for such allegations. The Filipinos did not get the reforms demanded by the propagandists. The government turned deaf ears to these petitions. Oppression continued, and the church and the government became even more oppressive to the Filipinos. The good intentions of Spain was reversed by the friars, who were lording it over in the Philippines. Because of this, not a few of the Filipinos affiliated with the La Liga Filipina, a civic organization suspected of being revolutionary and which triggered Rizal's banishment to the Pitan, like Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, Apolinario Mabini, Jose Palma, Pio Valenzuela, and etc., decided that there was no other way except to revolt.